Hello, so this is my contribution to our live class for this week. My performance management project is going to be on my dissertation. So right now I work as a regional clinical director where I manage up to 10 BCBAs. And one of the biggest struggles I've seen just in the field is just like a lack of leadership training for BCBAs. Leadership is very broad, so my focus is specifically on the ability to deliver disciplinary feedback to RBTs. So I notice a lot of times RBTs may be engaging in operational or clinical challenges that require feedback. And sometimes the BCBAs are equipped to give that feedback, but oftentimes they're coming to the regional directors or their managers to provide that feedback, which is great because that's what we're here for. However, the goal is to empower BCBAs and train them on how to deliver that feedback effectively so that they can just address it. I noticed that whenever the BCBAs escalate any type of feedback to the director or the manager, it does kind of taint the relationship between the RBT and the BCBA. So that's why it's so important to encourage the BCBAs to give this feedback in the moment or as appropriate. So a lot of my research focuses on just like the lack of training overall for BCBAs on how to be a leader, a supervisor. A lot of BCBAs are coming in from just being an RBT and then just jumping straight into the BCBA / leadership role. And a lot of times we don't see it as a leadership role, but it is a leadership role, right? You're leading RBTs, you're training RBTs, you're supervising them. One of the things mentioned in class was that lack of training is often overlooked when talking about performance management, and not overlooked in the sense that there's no research on it, but we often try to focus on a lot of other things that may impact someone's inability to deliver feedback or to learn a skill, right? So motivation or environmental factors or relational factors, which are all very important. But, overall training is very important. So my research focuses on using behavioral skills training to train BCBAs how to deliver disciplinary feedback to RBTs. So a lot of research supports behavioral skills training. So the question isn't, is BST effective? However, little research focuses on training BCBAs to deliver disciplinary feedback and training BCBAs on how to be supervisors and leaders in the field. I also like how you spoke about motivation and like the role that plays in performance management, but also motivation is not always enough, right? Someone can be motivated and still falling short. So it's important to just recognize all these other environmental factors or just variables in general that impact someone's ability to learn a skill and to thrive in that domain. As far as all of the skills that we discussed in class, I am interested on learning more about how to incorporate these skills in my dissertation, because I am using the behavioral observation skill as a way to measure the BCBA's ability to learn the skill after implementing BST. But I am trying to figure out if that's the best strategy to use or best measurement tool to use, because it's not really used in behavior analysis, and it was really hard to figure out like a measurement scale to really measure what I'm trying to measure, which is one's ability to give disciplinary feedback. And initially I was going to measure like leadership skills, but again, that's very broad. So someone can be a good leader but struggle with giving constructive criticism, or someone can give good constructive criticism but may not be a good leader or a good manager. So some of the feedback that my dissertation chair gave me was that if I am breaking down the different scales and like using parts of it, then it's not really it may not be appropriate to use for the dissertation. Like if I have a standardized scale and I'm using certain components of it, it's not necessarily standardized anymore. So this class, I am interested in learning more about the different measurement tools in performance management and seeing if I can use those in my dissertation, and if they may be a more appropriate tool to use compared to the behavior observation scale, or just in conjunction with it.